Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Liz, your host here at Crimes Untold. I know, I've been a little here, a little there, a little everywhere else. Apologies, my apologies. Also, if you can hear my dishwasher in the background, sorry. Cat is in the video. That's her butt. That's her face. So, today we're going to talk about some updates of some crimes. There's been some advancements in some cases, we'll say. Discoveries, information finally coming out, justice being served. We're going to talk about some good stuff today. Also, if this is your first time coming to my channel, hello and welcome. This is the weird side of YouTube. Yes, I am different. I might be awkward on camera. I don't really know. This is just me. My channel is a lot different than how it started, but I like to talk about true crime cases, unsolved, solved, serial killers, unidentified serial killers, missing persons, unidentifieds that have now become identified. I love older true crime cases, like 20-plus-year-old true crime cases. Those ones are really, really intriguing to me. So if that piqued your interest, I highly suggest you subscribe. Hit that red button down below, turn your post notifications on all, so ring the bell, and don't forget to like and comment my videos. That way I know that you like it, and, just introduce yourself, say hi. I'm a very strange person that lives in New England that loves to talk about true crime. I wouldn't say obsessed with true crime, but I'm very intrigued by true crime. People in general intrigue me. So, with that being said, let's get into today's agenda, shall we? All right, so I guess the first thing we're going to discuss is the case of Karen Umphrey. So back on November 2nd of 1980, Karen Umphrey was found dead in the State Game area within Beard Hills, and she had died via gunshot wound to the head, or gunshot wounds to the head. Her case remained unsolved. That was until they used genetic forensics to conclude that the suspect in her case, the second suspect in her case, was 64-year-old Anthony Harris. So, Anthony Harris, and then we have one other suspect. Let's see. We have the first one that he's actually scheduled to be sentenced on November 18th of 2024, and let me see, that is Douglas Lamming. So Douglas Lamming is 70 years old. At the time he was arrested, he was 70 years old. That was back on December 15th of 2023, and he is from Fort Gratiot. If I said that wrong, apologies. I don't live in Michigan, but in Fort Gratiot, Michigan. And he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, obviously punishable up to life in prison. And he was arraigned back on December 17th of 2023. He was expected to appear in court for probable cause in December 26, 2023. So the update is that Douglas Lamming was found guilty of first-degree murder. This was on October 10th of this year, obviously. And so at the time of the death, back in 1980, Karen Umphrey was 21 years old. And it's good that justice has now been served when it comes to this, because now Anthony Harris and Douglas Lamming they've now been found guilty, and Lamming has been sentenced, or Lamming is scheduled for sentencing on November 18th of 2024, and Anthony Harris will be sentenced on November 12th. So both men face up to life in prison for the murder of Karen Umphrey. But yeah, I felt that was, because I know I've talked about it in a true crime recap video that I had, I think, back earlier this year. Or it could have been at the tail end of last year when I did it. I might have. Don't quote me on that. But it's a good update to see, especially with all of the other things that are happening in the true crime world right now, which we're going to discuss one of them next. The next thing we're going to discuss is the disappearance and discovery of Amanda Lerial Overstreet. So, Back in April of 2005, 16-year-old Amanda Lirial Overstreet went missing. She was last seen in April of 2005. This was obviously almost 20 years ago. Nobody knew what happened. She was never reported missing. Her mother owned a home in Colorado, and like the only thing that was ever talked about, which I actually pulled this up on Facebook, and the person that put this up said that they spoke to one of Amanda's cousins and was told by her family that they were searching for answers for nearly 20 years in regards to her disappearance. So despite efforts to want to file a missing persons report, it never happened. The family also hoped that attention to the case would bring justice and help figure out what happened. The family was also told by Amanda's mother that Amanda's mother said that she ran away at a truck stop in Amarillo, Texas. But that also doesn't make sense as well, and it's because of how she was found. So from an article from Fox 59, this article is dating back to January of this year. So on January 18th of 2024, this article is by Timber Schumann, Nick Coziera, and Jeremy Tanner, and it's literally headed with human head, hands found in freezer at recently sold Colorado house. So on Pinion Avenue in Grand Junction, Colorado, this is when the Mesa County Sheriff's Office responded to a suspicious incident that happened at 2:30 p.m. on January 12th. The new homeowners of this home were cleaning out the leftover belongings that were left on the property from the prior owner. And this is when a set of remains were found. We didn't necessarily fully know at first until this article came out that it was a human head and hands that were found in a freezer in this home. It was then turned into, or transferred into, a possible homicide after the discovery at this home, due to obviously it just being sold and things like that. So there was a neighbor also in the neighborhood that did not want to be identified that was interviewed for this, and they told KREX, which I'm pretty sure is a news thing out there, that the new owners for the home posted on social media telling people to come and pick up some free stuff that had been left in the home. And while they were cleaning out some of these items, this is when there was a deep freezer found in the garage. And in the deep freezer, the remains were found underneath some animal meat that was frozen. So the remains were in a black bag underneath this animal meat. At the time of discovery, there was no definitive answers that could have deduced who this was. There were definitely, obviously, or multiple tests they needed to do in order to figure out who exactly the hands and the head belonged to, but nobody thought it would end up where it is now. Obviously, people hope that if a loved one goes missing, you're going to find out who it is. So fast forward to October 11th, so a few days ago, this is when KREX ended up coming out with another article that they had identified who the head and hands belonged to at the home on the 2900 block of Pinion Avenue in Grand Junction, Colorado. That is when they publicly announced that the remains were that of Amanda Lirial Overstreet, who was a resident of both Grand Junction and Harris County, Texas. The previous owner of the home is the biological mother of Amanda Overstreet. Amanda was believed to be about 16 years old when she disappeared, and she had not been heard from since April 2005. And again, it states that there was no missing persons report ever filed. So no one was made aware that she was missing. No authorities was made aware. Nobody took the time to figure out what happened to her other than her family, the ones that were actually trying. I don't necessarily know about her mother. I would assume, since remains were found in her mother's home, that there might be a common link with that. But based on the Facebook like the Facebook post that I found, it would seem that with her mother saying that, you know, she went missing from a truck stop, yeah, something's a little fishy there. The home that her mother sold, that, you know, the remains were found in, was purchased and fully remodeled and then sold to the new owner. So her mother sold it, and then that person fixed it up and then resold it. Yeah, it's obviously we don't want the new owners of the home to be like bombarded. So please, if you live in Colorado and in Grand Junction, do not irritate these people if they live in this home. That's one thing I don't like about sometimes knowing exactly what the address is. Obviously, I gave you guys like the road it is, the block it is. It's in Grand Junction, but don't hover on these people. If you live in the area, don't like cause a scene. These people, I'm pretty sure, are shocked by what they found, because they're not thinking, hey, I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to find remains in it. They're just simply, hey, I bought a house and I'm going to try and get rid of all this stuff that the previous owner just didn't want. So it wasn't in their thought process that, hey, I need to, you know, get rid of some human remains. Thankfully, I know her family, Amanda Overstreet's family, is probably happy that we finally found her. They're probably not happy about the way they found her, but at least she was found. As sad as it is to say, at least she was found. She could still be missing and unidentified, or the remains could still be unidentified, but we do have to thank those that put in the effort to identify her, and obviously the Mesa County Sheriff's Office, who is still investigating this at this time. All right, so the next thing we're going to discuss is the Delphi murders. I've been very quiet about the Delphi murders. I wanted to do a video about it after it transpired. Or technically this happened back in 2017, but I'm pretty sure I wanted to do a video about it back in early 2022, but I didn't. And it's because not a lot of information actually was released in regards to the murder. So our two victims are Abigail Joyce Williams and Liberty Rose Lynn German, or Libby German and Abby Williams. These two were friends and they were murdered. And there's a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to this case, like how it happened. We have somebody in custody, but there's a lot of, I don't want to say discrepancies when it comes to their murder, but the trial's happening right now. Jury selection just started, or just finished. I have, where is the article? Right here. So, because there's a lot of things that are weird about this case. We'll just say that. So today was day 2 of jury selection, and there's been a lot of like things flying out, and that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about. So the person in custody is 52-year-old Richard Allen. He's due to go to trial for the murders of Abby and Libby this week. There's a whole lot of speculation, a whole lot of claims that are coming out. So the first one is that the hair that is found in a hand of one of the murder victims does not match the suspect in custody's DNA. That is the first thing. The other thing I forgot to mention is that Abby was 13 and Libby was 14. Their ages are prevalent, so you understand the depth to this case of how shocking it is, because this literally shocked the close-knit community of Delphi. when this happened. And this happened in Delphi, Indiana, back in 2017, on February 13th, 2017, between the times of 2:07 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. And this happened near the Mannon High Bridge, which was in Deer Creek Township. So, this bridge is a part of the historic trails in Delphi, Indiana, and they were found the day after they disappeared. Their murders, everybody has talked about them. Everybody has covered this. The suspect in the case was taken into custody back on October 26th of 2022, and he was officially charged on October 31st with 2 counts of murder. And this arrest was the first break in the case, especially in this case that had held everybody's view for almost 6 years, because this happened back in 2017 and the arrest happened in 2022, so almost 6 years. It is very shocking. Like, not only the crime and how it rocked this community, but how this crime has now not like become an entity of itself, but really encapsulated some things. All right, so the DNA claim was made today by his defense attorney, which is Andrew Baldwin, and he made this claim during the small opening statements during jury selection. And I mean, we've been waiting 2 years for this trial to start or to come to a close. So opening statements are expected to begin this coming Friday, and then this past Monday, which obviously was Columbus Day, so yesterday, the prosecutor in the case, Nick McClellan, filed a motion to actually ban the police sketches of the suspect from being presented in the proceedings because they believe it will sway the jury. It could be used to sway the jury in a way that would like damn him as being guilty, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but not necessarily a good thing, because in cases like this, you have to, with beyond a reasonable doubt, find them guilty. Like I mentioned, we didn't know for the longest time how they died. It came out that they suffered fatal stab wounds, but we didn't really know anything else. Not at all. During a lot of these, like, how should I put this? While waiting for this case to come to jury selection and start trial, Richard Allen's lawyer has stated and proclaimed that his charge is innocent. And he suggested that these 2 girls died due to a ritualistic sacrifice by a group of Odinists, and added that they died at the hands of a nationalist pagan cult. The attorneys on this case have been banned from mentioning anything to do with a cult during this trial. Absolutely banned. So they cannot mention anything involving a group that is similar to a cult, anything like that. Richard Allen also told the investigators on the case as well, I will say this, that he was on the bridge trail the day the girls vanished, but he pled not guilty to these charges. There is a image from the surveillance of the trail, which I'm sure everybody has seen. It looks very similar to Richard Allen, but he has said he's been on the trail, so we can deduce that, yes, maybe it's him, but that could also be a still frame of somebody else. We don't know. And I'm not saying that to be a white flag. I'm not saying that to say that, hey, I believe him. I'm not saying that to say I don't believe him. We do not know. The only way we're going to figure out is if we listen to both sides, if we are able to understand exactly what happened. And we'll be able to find that out when all of the details come out. There's only so many things we can take at face value when it comes to true crime cases, and this is not unlike any other. Sometimes we have to take it at face value. Sometimes we have to wait until those certain details are divulged. And this case is one of those where we have to wait until we hear exactly what happened. Another thing that has also been talked about is that his home is a less than 5-minute drive from where the bodies of Abby and Libby were found, which gives him ample time to get away back to his home and keeps him within the radius of where they were found. So he is very close. So I remember that when they first talked about some of the media that was leaked from Libby's phone, there's a grainy video of a man. He has a blue jacket, he has a baseball cap, and blue jeans. And this is the one he's walking along an abandoned bridge, the railroad bridge. And they think this is the girl's killer. Well, in the footage as well, you can hear a guy telling them to go down the hill. But that's all we have for substantial evidence from Libby's phone. We do have composite sketches. I don't think they look similar at all. We have one that has like a cabbie hat, which would be the one that is found. I would assume this is the guy that's walking along the trail in the video. And then we have another sketch that was created in 2019. It shows a suspect in connection with the murders. And the police said that there needed to be a second sketch after they had received new information in regards to this case. And all we kept hearing from the police is that they suffered wounds from a sharp object, but it was never definitively determined until recently that they were stabbed with a knife. It's one of those things that they've kept hush-hush. There's a lot of cases, if you are well-versed in the true crime world, there is going to be a lot of cases where they don't talk about how somebody dies. The cause of death is withheld. There's a lot of cases that are like that, and they do that for good reason. A lot of the time they do that so then it's something that they can administer in the court of law. So it sets a tone for a shocking revelation in a case. And with that being said, the whole thing that has now come into play with the hair found in one of the girls' hands, which is Abby's hand. So apparently the hair that's found in Abby's hand does not match Richard Allen. And this is what I initially was talking about with his lawyer stating. They did pick the final members of the jury around 3:30 today. And it is a group of 16 people, so 12 on the jury, and we have 4 alternates. I finally went through jury duty this year, and it was the most fascinating thing I've ever done before. I was excused from all cases due to other things. If you've ever done jury duty, then you'll understand. But I was picked for all 3, but could not. Second one was settled, but the other 2, I could not serve due to not prior engagements, but yeah, just certain things in my life, or because of people I know, or one of them was the lawyer and the police officer I knew. Yeah, a whole bunch of craziness. Anywho, that's besides the point. So they picked their jury. This jury is being sequestered in a hotel until the end of this trial. And this trial is set to start Friday and go until November 15th. So this jury is going to be together for almost a month, and they have to be in a hotel away from everybody. They cannot have any media contact. They can't talk to anybody about this trial, the whole shebang. It's when you are selected for a jury, it's one of those things where you really have to stay a neutral party. And it's so you can play both sides of the field, understand both sides of the field, understand all the evidence that is being presented to you. And then obviously that's why you have the whole group of people that would be able to, you'd be able to talk to about these things. So also I would assume during the mini opening statements, which is what you have to do when you select a jury, is the prosecutor talked about the girls walking along the trails on the 13th of February of 2017, and also alluded to the fact that they were forced off and led to like a creek area, and then they were killed. This was one of the first things that was revealed on Tuesday as a new development for the case that people hadn't heard whatsoever at all. Then we had the motion of barring the sketches, those two sketches that I talked about. One was released in July of 2017, the other in April of 2019. The drawings and the cell phone video that's captured on Libby's phone, these I believe are still being allowed in the case, but I'm sure some things will probably be withheld. They'll be barred from the trial, but again, it's something else we need that will come to find out as the days go on, because there could be things that could be barred that the prosecutor is fine with one day and then not the next. You know what I mean? Alan was present for jury selection. He's been present in jail for all of this. He's present in the courtroom for all this, but yeah, he's been in jail since. The other thing that is hard is that this case happened in a town of 2,961 people. And because of this, there's a special judge that they have to ask about this. And this special judge previously decided that the group of jurors they selected from, which is a group of 300, would come from another county versus coming from the town of Delphi. And this is so he could have a fair trial. Because everybody, if you've never lived in a small town, small towns like Delphi, like I lived in Epping, New Hampshire, which was just as small, a little bit bigger. I would say about 4,000 people when we moved to Epping. And then obviously I think now it's like maybe 8,000 or 10,000 people because of expansion and all this jazz. But when you live in a small town, you know everybody. And it's going to be the same thing with Delphi. So to make sure that there's nobody's being impartial in the case, this is why they have to choose people from another county. If whoever is watching this does not understand that, you have to look into other cases in small towns, because you want to make sure that, yes, you could think he's guilty, or he's like, yeah, basically what I said, you could think he's guilty, but in order to prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, you need to make sure that there's no impartiality. Pretty sure that's the word. Yep, and to make sure there's no impartiality when it comes to this case. So each time, if you've ever been a witness in a trial, been at a trial, seen like a live trial, you will have both prosecutors and the defense lawyers. They will talk to you about being impartial, especially the defense lawyer. They will say to you, they will tell you that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. When you go into a courtroom, you have to keep that thought in mind. You can't just look at somebody and be like, hey, he's guilty. You have to look at him and say, I need to listen to this case before I can think of him as being guilty. You cannot deem him so until you've gotten all the facts in the case. And this is the same thing when it comes to Richard Allen and the Delphi murders. It was the same thing when it came to the Karen Umphrey case with her two now convicted killers. It's going to be the same thing when it comes to the Amanda Overstreet case. When it comes to her mom and whomever else is involved in that. We don't know until we have those mitigating facts determining whether or not they are guilty. And I may sound like the most impartial person on the planet, but this is when you have to step back and be that neutral party and understand that, hey, I'm one of the many people that consumes true crime content. I'm one of the many people that find this fascinating. And you have to think of it in a way where you have to analyze it from the outside looking in. Yeah, you can pull it in a way where you're like psychologically looking at them, or you're sociologically looking at them in a group of people. But when it comes to determining whether a person is guilty or not, you have to base it on the facts, the mitigating facts as it is, and what evidence you have that points to their guilt or points to their innocence. You have to be impartial. You have to be complicit and compliant when it comes to listening to all the facts of the case and determining whether or not somebody is guilty or innocent. I know that was extremely long-winded, but a lot of people have a hard time understanding this fact and this concept when it comes to the legal system. Yes.